I'll give you 30. Is this yours?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just in case. I don't know if the camera will catch it turning on and off.
All right. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Eddie Angel. I'm the Executive Director of Student and Community Services. I want to welcome all of you on behalf of our school district. As you may or may not know, a decision was made across our city of Orange in which we will no longer have cross guards. Now, as always, our district really tries to take a proactive approach. You know, right now we're currently working closely with the city of Orange and also Orange PD in ensuring that we provide safety measures across the city. Currently, we've been meeting with the city of Orange, and we've also been in talks with Orange PD and how we can make our community safe for the kids. Tonight we have two topics that we would like to discuss with you. We have e-bike safety and also how can we make it safe for our kids when they walk to and from school. Without further ado, I'm gonna hand this over to our Officer Ivins from Orange PD. Let's give him a hand, please.
Hello and welcome in to those listening online and to those in our audience today. My name is Officer Ivins. I work for the City of Orange Police Department. I've been a police officer for 10 years now and assigned to our traffic bureau for 4 of those years. Tonight, as previously mentioned, we're going to talk about e-bikes and walking to school and some safety tips and pointers around both bikes and walking. I got involved in this topic around 2021. I started really noticing an increase in electric bicycles and different modes of transportation that were outside of your regular cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Part of my job as a motor officer is to respond out to traffic collisions. And so another one of those things that I noticed was increase in bicycle accidents throughout our city, on our streets, on our sidewalks. And so it really kind of got me thinking and going on how I could promote more safety with those modes of transportation. On top of that, in 2022, we actually had 2 fatal traffic collisions involving modes of transportation such as motor-driven cycles and scooters. We have had, in the last 6 months, a fatality involving an e-bike down in the riverbed. And so we would like to engage the community and teach on this topic on safety so that we can get everybody involved to have safer streets throughout the city of Orange. So a little overview on this, this topic for you. We're going to go over the importance and the safety of commuting on foot and on e-bikes, the growing popularity of both e-bikes and walking as modes of transportation, and we're going to focus on student safety. So if you can see the photo back there, this is kind of what we all envision, right? We look at this and we go, that's just a kid on an e-bike. And we might not fully understand what he's actually riding, but this is what's being sold to us as an e-bike, when in reality, they're not. Some of the safety things to point out is he's at the beach, it's a nice sunny day, he's probably just out cruising, you know, he's keeping up with other bicycles on the bike path, but as far as safety goes, he's wearing Crocs. He's wearing shoes that, if he did get in an accident, aren't going to protect him. He doesn't have a helmet on either, so if he does get involved in a traffic accident or an accident of any sort, there's going to be nothing to protect his body from incurring some pretty serious injury. So with that, this might be what you know, your vision is, just kind of strolling around on the weekends to and from school. But in reality, this is what we're seeing out on the road. So as you're watching this video, this is actually a video of two guys who are on electric motorcycles riding through the streets of downtown LA. We see this in the city of Orange as well, where e-bikes are being ridden on the roadways, through traffic, in traffic, around traffic. And if you look up at the top left of the screen, you'll notice these bikes are going 35, 40 miles per hour, and they're actually passing all the other traffic that is on the roadway. In addition to that, if you're riding a motorcycle and you're doing any of these stunts, I'm sure you would expect to be pulled over. And through their travels, not only are they driving recklessly, but they're endangering both their lives and the public's lives throughout this entire clip. They're doing wheelies, they're almost striking pedestrians, they're running red lights. There's just no regard for safety when they're operating these electric motorcycles. Again, this slide shows you there's actually 3 different types of electric motorcycles being ridden here. One guy just crashed after doing a wheelie. This is what our children are out there on the roads doing. They get these bikes, they're riding around with kids, they're doing wheelies, they think it's fun, and they're truly endangering both themselves and others when they're performing these stunts. This video right here, something that most people might not understand is all of these bikes are electronic. All of them are controlled through apps. So this guy right here has an app, and throughout this video what he's actually doing is he's changing settings, allowing his bicycle to go, or his electric motorcycle to go faster and faster and faster. And he's testing it out after recently making modifications. And if you've purchased an electric bike or an electric motorcycle, what you may or may not realize is then after that, modifications can be made to this to make it go faster and faster, which is unsafe. So as we kind of watch this video unfold, you'll see his speed steadily increasing. He's going 27 miles per hour. And again, his whole goal is to go as fast as possible after recently making this easy modification to his e-bike. So now we're up to 57 miles per hour, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63. And then as we enter the top end of this video, he actually gets it up to 70 miles per hour. Now that's 70 miles per hour on a device that was never intended to go that fast. The brakes on this cannot handle that kind of speed. So when he actually goes to slow down, he's not going to have adequate time to slow himself down safely. And if anything was to enter his pathway, it's just going to lead to a traffic collision, which we see time and time again. So incredibly unsafe. So accident rates. Since the introduction of e-bikes and electric motorcycles, there have been an increase, a steady increase in traffic collisions. So in a study through 2017 to 2022, emergency departments actually saw 53,200 injuries as a result of these modes of transportation. Children 14 years and younger actually accounted for 36% of those injured in these collisions. Fatalities, that means death from e-bike accidents, 104 from that period of 2017 to 2022. 225 e-bikes crashes occurred in 2022, which is increasing from year after year. 4 of those were actual fatal traffic collisions. So these are dangerous. These bikes are dangerous. And so if you don't understand what you've actually purchased or what you're riding or what you're allowing your children to ride, it could be very detrimental up into a potential death. So they are very, very unsafe. Common collision factors. So just like what we saw in the video, we're seeing speeding, we're seeing reckless riding, Heavy traffic can be a cause of collisions. Mechanical failure. As I mentioned earlier, the brakes were never designed. They're bicycle brakes. They were never designed to stop a vehicle traveling at speeds that you'd see a motorcycle drive. Road hazards. Distracted driving is steadily on a rise and increasing. And then rider inexperience. Again, these are things that we buy a bike, we think we know what we have, maybe unknown to us. A friend has brought over a modification that they've made to this bike, and then now it's going upwards of 70 miles per hour, and you have young riders who just don't know how to ride a motorcycle, which is what they've turned it into. So CHOC, local hospital here in Orange, these are the common injuries that they see. Concussions, extremity fractures, so that's legs and arms being fractured, skull fractures, facial fractures. And what's important for you to understand is all of these are typical of what we see in motorcycle accidents. So these are aggravated extreme injuries that are due to the speed of that vehicle, the weight, and what they're hitting. So I'll kind of define this a little bit more and let you guys know what an e-bike is not. All right, so up on the screen, bear with me here, we see a Tesla, which we all know is not an e-bike. But we see that and we identify that as a car. Car being driven on a roadway, we'd understand that if you were driving that vehicle, you have to follow all the rules of the road, you'd have to drive it safely, and we would drive it just like any other car. We'd also understand that you have to have a driver's license to operate that vehicle. So the stock Model 3 has a top speed of 145 miles per hour. Now on the left of that, you'll see a motorcycle. Now if you or I were to see this motorcycle out in the roadway, we would likely look at it and go, that's a motorcycle. That's absolutely what it is. But what you might not realize is this is a zero cycle. It just like a Tesla. It is electric powered. And this motorcycle, stock from the factory, can go 124 miles per hour. So in comparing that, one of the earliest to market electric dirt bike was actually the Sur-Ron. Very, very, very popular. In fact, the Sur-Ron was one of the electric motorcycles you actually saw in those videos. Now there's a bunch of different companies making some similar type of electric motorcycle. These come stock from the factory going 47 miles per hour. That's 47 miles per hour on bicycle brakes. So if you took a motorcycle, like the one I ride every single day, and you married it to a pedal bike, you basically are intermingling components and they're just not safe. The Zero Cycle has been studied and it has the safety standards that meet federal guidelines, California state guidelines for an actual vehicle that can be ridden on the roadway. Whereas the Sur-Ron has never gone those tests. It is not safe, and it is an unsafe vehicle for several different reasons. But important to note that very simple, easy modifications to the Sur-Ron, you can get it up to 100 miles per hour. And if you do a little research online and look at it, one of the major things that even the people who are modding these out to go 100 miles per hour and feel comfortable driving 100 miles per hour, you'll hear them complain several times that, yeah, the brakes just aren't meant for that. The brakes aren't meant for that. The brakes can't handle that. But yet they're still out on the road doing wheelies, driving in and around cars, driving through creek beds, riverbeds, up and down hills. They're treating these just like you would a typical motorcycle. Now we'll compare that to a KTM 150. So if I'm going to try to compare apples to apples as far as what this electric dirt bike is, the closest thing would be this KTM 150. Now, if you notice, top speed on that is 73 miles per hour. We would all look at this and go, that's a gas-powered dirt bike. And I if you're into riding dirt bike out in the desert and off highway trails, or maybe you have a road legal dirt bike, you know that there's federal safety standards for whether you're going to ride it off-road or on-road. You know that there has to be registration for that vehicle, both off-road or on-road. You know that there might be insurance that you might need to get for that vehicle, depending on your application. But the Sur-Ron, we look at that and go, that's an electric bicycle. For some reason, we look at that and go, it's an electric bicycle, which it is not. Number one, it doesn't have functioning pedals. You cannot pedal this bike down the road. It has pegs on it, just like you'd see on any motorcycle. So how this got lumped into a category of electric bicycles is beyond me. It's an unsafe vehicle. It is not an electric bicycle. It is exactly that. It is an electric dirt bike. So with that, we'll move into actually what a e-bike is. So you have 3 different classes of e-bikes. So we'll go through the first class here. I have 2 different examples, and you have to remember that for e-bikes, they come in all sorts of different shapes, sizes, colors. But if you look at the pictures, you'll notice that these are bicycles, right? They have functioning pedals. They have a chain that drives the rear wheel. The only difference is this has a motor on it that does assist that bicycle down the road to make it easier for the rider to go either longer distances or have a more comfortable ride. So with these, top speed is 20 miles per hour. You notice the one on the right has a 500 watt integrated battery. Usually with batteries versus motors, you try to get the most efficiency, you match the wattage on those. The one to the left, again, top speed 20 miles per hour. This has a 350 watt brushless motor. Move on to class 2. Class 2, again, you notice that it has a different style of bike, but it has functioning pedals and a chain that will drive that rear wheel. Now the difference with a class 2 e-bike, still limited to 20 miles per hour, but this one actually has a throttle. So this one you can roll on the throttle just like you would a motorcycle. That vehicle is going to get up to 20 miles per hour, and then the motor will not allow that bike to go any faster than 20 miles per hour. Both of these bikes, one has a 500 watt motor, the other one has a 750 watt rear wheel hub driven motor that comes with that. Class 3 e-bike. So with the class 3 e-bike, this actually allows the rider to go up to 28 miles per hour. This no longer has a functioning throttle. So you can pedal that bike and the bike will get up to 28 miles per hour, and then the motor ceases. It will not allow you to go any faster with its help as you're riding down the road. What's interesting to note is the bike on the left has a 250 watt motor and it can propel itself up to 28 miles per hour, whereas the class 2 bike had a 750 and can only go up to 20. The Diamondback has a 500 watt motor on it. So what's important to know around e-bikes and e-bike safety is, again, what I've just talked about are classes. So your class 1, your class 2, your class 3 e-bike. This is actually what's defined by the California Vehicle Code. So class 1, limited to 20 miles per hour. It's pedal assisted up to the max. Class 2, limited to 20 miles per hour, throttle assisted up to the max. Class 3, 28 miles per hour, pedal assisted up to the max. But you must note that you have to be 16 years old to operate a class 3 electric bike. Now when it comes to bicycles, you have to follow the rules of the road. So this means you have to ride in the same direction as flowing traffic on the roadway. You have to stop for stop signs. You have to stop for red lights. Anything that's applicable to a driver, you also have to do when you're riding a bicycle. The only, I would say, major difference is with bicycles, you can ride them on the sidewalk, unless there is a municipal code that prevents you from riding on sidewalks. So, for example, downtown in the Circle, you're not allowed, per our municipal code, to ride a bicycle on the sidewalks in downtown Orange. So there's a municipal code that prevents that. One of the major safety tips that I can give you is to wear a helmet. If you're riding a class 3 e-bike, 16 years or older, it doesn't matter what age, you have to wear a helmet. Class 1 and 2, it's just like a regular pedal bicycle. You have to be 17 and under, you have to wear a helmet. And if you are 18 or older, you can opt out of wearing a helmet if you choose. Helmets are incredibly important. If you do get in a collision, that helmet is what's going to protect your brain and hopefully keep you alive. And that's the only form of protection generally you'll see. So we highly, highly, highly encourage everybody riding a bicycle, regardless of age, to make sure you're wearing a helmet. As far as passengers go, so you can carry passengers on e-bikes just like you can on a regular pedal bike, but you have to have a seat that they can sit on that is actually designated for a passenger. So in the first two photos, you see two bikes that have seats on them so that the children can actually sit in there. They're strapped on. They have pegs for their feet to rest on, and that is totally allowable in the state of California. The last picture, that's just a storage rack. So we see this all the time on the roads as well, where you have kids going to and from school, riding up and down the streets, going from friend's house to friend's house, and maybe one of them has a bike, the other doesn't, but they want to get there quicker. So one friend says, yeah, I'll hop on, I'll pedal. The other one just hops on the back of the bike. It's unsafe and it is illegal. So how should helmets fit? So you want to make sure that you have at least 2 fingers above the brow for that helmet. Has V-straps around the ears and a chin strap. The chin strap has to be buckled. If you don't have the chin strap on, you might as well not be wearing the helmet, because the second you hit something or anything, that helmet's going to go flying off and it's not going to protect you. It's not going to do what it's designed to do. So it needs to buckle around the chin and be snug enough to where the rider can open their mouth, talk, laugh, play, but it does need to be strapped. As far as visibility, so there are vehicle code requirements for visibility on bicycles. So when ridden at night, the bike actually has to have a light to the front that is white. All right, no other color other than white, just like you'd see on a car, right? We have white headlights, so that's to help illuminate the roadway so we can see where we're going. For bicycles, you can choose to have a red light on the rear of that bike, which lights are always better, in my opinion, but you can have just a red reflector. On the side of that bicycle, both the pedals have to have reflectors in them, and on the wheels, you have to have reflectors on both sides to make that bicycle road legal to ride around at night. So, riding techniques. With riding techniques, we want to make sure that we are practicing defensive riding. So we're not jumping off curbs into traffic, jumping curbs onto the other part of the sidewalk. We are riding defensively. We're actively looking for potential hazards. We're driving at a reasonable speed, and we're safely operating that bicycle. Making sure we're staying aware of all of our surroundings as we're riding that bicycle, looking for cars, pedestrians, anything potentially cracked in the sidewalk that could cause one of our tires to wash out. And then anticipating the actions of both pedestrians and drivers. So as we're riding maybe down a sidewalk, we're anticipating if a car is pulling out of a driveway, We're anticipating knowing that that car is probably not going to stop for us, so we keep our speed at an appropriate level, and we wait for that car. We make eye contact with that driver or the pedestrian, and we make sure that they know that we're there before we cross their path. Handling emergencies. Emergencies do happen. Bicycles do get in collisions. So one of the things, the safety tips that I'd like to impart on you is braking properly. So just like on a motorcycle, we have to brake properly. So for us, it is more heavy on the front brake than the rear brake. If we just jam on our rear brake, then what that's going to cause is that rear wheel to lock up. We're not going to slow down. It's just going to cause that wheel to lock up and skid along whatever roadway that we're on. So we're not scrubbing as much speed as we would need to avoid a potential collision. So you have to appropriately use both the front and rear brake. When you apply the front brake, it's about an 80-20 ratio. So we want to apply that front brake. That front brake will stop that, or start slowing that front wheel. Our center of gravity is going to cause more pressure down on that front wheel, and it's going to help us brake quicker and faster. And applying the rear brake with that 20% is also going to aid in that, so that we don't skid and we actually come to a stop. And then avoiding obstacles. One of the things that we train on is to steer the rear. If you have a car going out in front of you, then you definitely don't want to steer in the same direction as that car, because if we go in the same direction of the car, then we're going to end up meeting. So we teach steering to the rear, getting that bicycle to the rear of that car, because once it's gotten out of our path, we're farther away from it. So we're steering to the rear on that. And then just slow your speed. Even though an electric bike might be able to go up to 20 miles per hour, Class 3 can go up to 28 miles per hour, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's safe to constantly ride that vehicle around at those top speeds. If we have pedestrians, other bicycles on the road or sidewalk, we might have to reduce our speed. And that's just safer for everybody. So move on to our next topic. So walking to school in California. Little introduction with our statistics. So in 2018, about 14,000 pedestrians were injured. Pedestrian deaths rose 26% between 2014 and 2018. And an interesting note that here in the state of California, pedestrian deaths are more than any other state in our country. So our roadways can be very, very hazardous. Common causes, so night times and weekends accidents. So it kind of makes sense because children are generally out playing on roadways, in the front yard, out with friends, going to and from friends' houses. And so the likelihood, because they're not in a classroom during the weekends, that they're out in the public and potentially putting themselves at risk is a lot higher. I'd also say during summer, winter breaks, spring break, we also see more kids out in the roadways. Alcohol-related incidents. Alcohol consumption and driving, marijuana consumption and driving are on the rise, unfortunately. And this is leading to more and more accidents up and down the state of California, and including here in Orange. So because of this, we see more cars striking pedestrians due to unsafe driving habits of drivers. Dart outs, so that's where maybe a basketball or a football or frisbee or something like that gets accidentally thrown out to the roadway, and our children are going to want to run after that. So dart outs are also a leading cause of collisions with pedestrians. And then intersections and crosswalks. So just darting out or entering a crosswalk when you shouldn't be entering, drivers aren't prepared and end up striking pedestrians. So as far as safety tips for walking, make sure we're planning our routes. When I was middle school, high school age, we had a route planned out. My parents knew what route that me and my brothers took to school, and we walked that every single day. It was a planned route for us, and that's how we got to and from school safely. Choosing routes that are through maybe residential zones where we know the speed limit is 25. So looking for areas that there's less traffic, less cars, and we're not crossing major intersections. But if you have to cross major intersections, making sure that we're crossing those intersections using those crosswalks appropriately. Wearing bright colored clothing is another thing that we can do. Reflective gear, and a big thing out there is, unfortunately, everybody now has cell phones. Everybody's walking around. Even elementary school kids have cell phones. So making sure we're keeping our head and eyes up out on the roadways when we're walking to school and not down in that device as we're walking. Crossing streets safely, so we want to make sure, just like in a car, I'm sure a lot of the parents in the audience understand this, you're taught this to get your driver's license. When you enter a roadway, enter an intersection, you're supposed to look left, right, and then left again. This ensures that you see any potential oncoming cars, pedestrians, bicycles, and you're clearing that space knowing that it is safe then to enter that crosswalk. Checking for cars and hazards, and making sure that you're making eye contact with that driver, that bicycle rider, or whoever is on that roadway. Eye contact is huge because then you know that you see them and they then see you. And so you must make that eye contact. And then do not dart out or run into the street. It's just unsafe. So again, we want to use our crosswalks, always cross at the designated crosswalk when available. If there are no sidewalks, then it's safer actually for pedestrians to walk against traffic. That way we can see the cars, see the bikes, see what's coming our way, and then if there is some sort of an incident, we can get out of the way, versus having your back to traffic when you're walking down the road. So if there is no sidewalk available and you have to walk in the shoulder of the road, make sure we are walking against the flow of traffic. Waiting for the signals. This is huge. If it has an upheld red hand and it says don't walk, then it's generally probably unsafe to walk. So we want to make sure we're looking at these symbols. If there's a countdown timer, we want to make sure that we're making it across that intersection before that countdown timer has gone down to 0. And then when it says walk, we walk. But we want to make sure that we are looking left, right, and left again before we do so, because cars do run red lights. Parent involvement. Parent involvement is huge. So we want to walk to school. We want to make sure we walk to school safely. So having parents walk with the kids, maybe having dedicated days for parents to walk. You have a group of parents that walk with kids on Monday. You have a group of parents that walk with kids on Tuesday. And you participate in a walking school bus. So it's just the parents, the kids, and we're all walking to school. Or if maybe school's a little bit farther and everybody wants to ride e-bikes to school, then the parents have their e-bikes, the kids have their e-bikes, and we are riding to school together. If there are any issues or hazard areas that you guys notice, is just a huge safety concern, you see numerous vehicle code violations, then feel free to call us. We do have a special enforcement line, which is up on the screen. When you guys identify unsafe areas, it helps us to do our job more effectively and efficiently. So we'll actually send our motors out and members of our traffic bureau, and we'll work those areas. That is a huge impact because it drives down then those violations that occur in those areas with our presence. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you guys have a better understanding now of what an e-bike actually is, what an e-bike actually isn't, and I hope you guys understand a little bit more on how to safely get our kids to and from school without any major incidents.
We may drive through school zones, work zones, on side streets, and city streets, but we also walk, bike, and roll through these areas too. Remember, safety is sharing, safety is caring. Share the road, share the responsibility. Go safely, California.
On behalf of Orange Unified, we would like to thank Orange Police Department and also Motor Officer Ivins for being here tonight. Let's give Motor Officer Ivins a round of applause, please. And also, I do encourage the community, if you have any questions regarding safety or tonight's presentation, please call the Office of Student Community Services at 714-628-5424. Thank you very much and have a good night.